Well, welcome everybody to this Friday's version of the game plan, which is USASBE's weekly live stream to get you ready for the 2022 Pioneer and Persevere conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, and hybrid. So it's also in the ether. So today's guest is somebody who I got to work with for a few years back in the day, back when we were much younger, right, Andy?
Sure.
I'd like to introduce Andy Heise, who is the assistant teaching professor and in charge of the Arts Entrepreneurship Program, and I believe, well, you can clarify that, at University of Missouri, Kansas City. So Andy, welcome. Want to tell us a little bit about what you're currently up to?
Yes, thanks, Julie. Thanks, Brittany, for having me on here today to talk about the impactful programming track, which we'll get to, but a little bit about myself. I teach entrepreneurship and business courses to non-business students here at UMKC and just down the street at the Kansas City Art Institute. We're just getting an Arts Entrepreneurship Certificate program launched here at UMKC. That's a partnership between the Block School and the Conservatory. So I work with a colleague over in the Conservatory to administer that program. And then we have a unique partnership with the Kansas City Art Institute, which is a completely separate four-year College of Art and Design, like I said, just about a mile north of us here, where we developed and we deliver an entrepreneurial studies minor for their students. So that's sort of what I do, where I spend most of my time is in arts entrepreneurship, teaching business and entrepreneurship to visual and performing artists.
I love it. And I love how it's a collaborative endeavor, right? It's not
Absolutely.
just, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. You got business and art can each learn from each other. And this is a perfect example of that. So
totally. Yeah. And I talk about that a lot with colleagues. When I go to arts entrepreneurship conferences and meetings, I'm usually one of the few people from the business school there, because that is where I'm housed. It's where my home is in the business school. And they're always like, how do you do that? How do you get the business school to work with you? And it's always a fun conversation to have.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for joining us today, because as you mentioned, you are one of the co-track chairs for the Impactful Programming track. And Alicia Bryce is your other co-track chair, and she's unavailable today, and so we weren't able to get her on the call as well. But just wanted to know kind of some thoughts that you have, and I'm happy to give some additional context too, but on why you are excited about the Impactful Programming track.
Yeah, I am very excited about the Impactful Programming track for lots of reasons. I'll first start off just by a little bit about what the track is intended to do. So, there's lots of programs that have been around for a while now, and those programs live in lots of different places. They live in universities. They're for undergraduate students or for graduate students, PhD students, whatever. But there's also a lot of incubators and accelerators and other non-degree programs that exist that have really good track records, a great history of really moving the needle on entrepreneurship education. And that's who we want to see submitting to this track, because one of the things that I enjoy the most out of USASBE, and I think is one of the most important things USASBE does, is it allows people like me who have new programs, who are building programs, to hear from people who have experience in these programs that have been successful, and they can share some of the success stories they've had, but more importantly, perhaps give us some tips and some tools that we can use back in our own programs. So it's kind of two-sided, right? You got the people submitting, who are the people with the impactful programs, but also if you're at the conference, be sure to check out the track, because there's surely something that you can take away and use in your own programs at home.
Absolutely. And within the programming, the two programming tracks that we have, one is innovative programming and one is impactful programming. And there is a distinction. I just want to make sure that we clarify those things, because a lot of impactful programming is also innovative. So there's that. But the difference really is innovative programming are those things that are still in development, maybe just launching, or they're kind of in that, we're trying some things out and we want to share this because part of USASBE is also how do we get a leg up? How do we stay competitive, right?
Yeah.
So the impactful programming is really about what numbers do you have to support the things that you've done. What has the impact been? And oftentimes, Andy, you probably appreciate this, is that sometimes the impact is not what's anticipated and expected, but we still need to talk about that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, those unanticipated outcomes are certainly just as valid as the ones you did intend for, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the breadth of the type of programs that you'd like to see. Are there certain kind of topical areas that you think you might see? We don't know what we're going to see with this track, but what are you kind of thinking might show up out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm sure we'll see some undergraduate programs. There's some really comprehensive programs out there now that have been around. And what I mean by comprehensive are like freshman year, first year learning cohorts, and then they go all the way through so I'll be interested to see, those schools are escaping me now, but I'd be interested to see some of them submit to this. Also things like, I don't know a thing that comes to mind is we have our SBDC here in Kansas City has a lot of really great programs, community facing programs that have been extremely impactful, and they've got great data. So I've actually been encouraging them to apply as well, and looking at other options there.
Good.
So that's kind of what I would like to see, and what I kind of think we will see. Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And it's also a great place for economic development groups that are doing some unique and different things. It's great for niche programs that are focused on veterans programming, minority, underserved populations. I mean, it can really be this very broad group of or set of programs that we get in this impactful. And so this is pretty cool. I like it. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the niche sort of audience as well, because I think oftentimes that's where the most impact is had, right? I am building an entrepreneurship program for this specific type of entrepreneur, and therefore the likelihood of success is higher, and the outcomes might be more favorable or whatever. Yeah. For sure.
And we don't want to leave out our K12 programs from this too, because my perspective on like USASBE focuses a lot on that collegiate level. A lot of our members are in colleges at some level, and we need to know what are the programs that are populating our student population in the colleges, right? And how are those programs potentially able to be used in our own communities, or how are they able to be we just need to know about them, because it's going to change our curriculum at colleges in different locations. So
yeah, absolutely. More and more of those popping up as well all the time. So
it's true. It's true. Well, the deadline for submitting to the impactful programming track is
September 10th.
That's right. Friday, September 10th. Absolutely.
Right, is that right? Okay. Yeah. That's what I have on my calendar.
That's exactly right. And in the text, you go to usasbe.awardsplatform.com. I will make sure that that's in the text, and that's where you go. You can apply for everything. You can apply for any of the tracks. You can apply for any of the awards nominations, Lifetime Achievement Awards. And there's also a place for, if you're interested in a mentorship program. I know that that's going to be coming up in some of the upcoming weeks. We'll be talking about mentorship program, and we'll be talking about the DOC consortium. So there's just so many things that are part of the constellation of what USASBE offers to entrepreneurship educators. And right now, to apply for any of those programs, you go out to usasbe.awardsplatform.com. All right. Andy, thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to working with you more for the conference.
It's a pleasure, yeah. And don't hesitate to reach out to Alicia or myself if you have any questions about this track.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Brittany. Bye-bye.
Thank you.